Surround yourself with good people and stay focused.
Welcome to Biz Stories Shared, where storytellers share their inspiration, motivation, some disappointments, and how they applied the lessons that led them to success. Stories are gifts. Listen as these gifts are shared. Now, here is your host, Charlotte Plott.
Hello, storytellers. This is Charlotte Plott, and I'm thrilled to bring you today our guest, Anthony Kirlew. Anthony, are you ready to be a storyteller?
Absolutely, Charlotte. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you're here too. A little bit about Anthony. He is a veteran online marketer who has founded or co-founded several online marketing businesses since 1999. He is a blogger, speaker, and a trusted digital marketing expert frequently called upon by media outlets. Anthony is also the author of The Internet Marketing Guide for Small Businesses and a contributing author to Media Magnetism and Office for One. He is originally from Maryland, and he and his wife currently live in the Phoenix area. Well, Anthony, I've given our listeners just a little summary about you. So if you'll take a minute and maybe just tell us a little bit more about you personally, because we want to get to know you better, and then a little bit more of an overview of your business.
Well, sure, Charlotte. So, a little bit about me. I spent many, many years living on the East Coast. I was just reminiscing the other day about how close we lived to the water. It was about a 2.5 hour drive. So, we spent a lot of time hanging out at the beach. I was a techie before I was an internet marketing person. So, I used to do computer repair and networking stuff. And then this internet thing came along in about the late 90s, and I was really blessed to be on the front of that wave. And so got involved real early. I like to tell people I got involved before people knew about Google and before Facebook was even conceived.
Wow. Good for you.
Forward, I'm now living in the Valley of the Sun here. So continuing to make my way westward, and who knows, maybe I'll make it all the way to California by the next couple of years to get back to the water.
Back to the water. Well, I certainly can understand that appeal. Anthony, here at Biz Stories Shared, we start every show with your favorite quote. So what's your favorite quote? And share a little bit about how you apply this to your everyday thinking.
Sure. So my favorite quote is from Thomas Edison, and it's the quote that says, "I have not failed. I've succeeded in finding 10,000 ways that don't work." And what I like about that is it's all about perspective. In business, you're going to have things that don't work out. And the difference between success and failure in business are the folks that look at those things that don't work the way they planned as succeeding in seeing what didn't work. And we look at that as growth. And that's really what kind of keeps me going because it has been a long journey. I've had several businesses. Some have been more successful than others. And no matter how long you're doing this, the economy changes, times change, technology changes. So nothing will go the way you plan 100% of the time. And so keeping that in perspective that every time you overcome a hurdle or overcome an obstacle or find a way to do something that didn't quite work out, it's now made you more of that business expert, and you can now transfer that information to someone else who could really use it.
Well, it sounds like that's how you apply that quote to your journey, because you mentioned that you just keep finding solutions rather than quitting.
Absolutely. And that's what keeps it fun. It's like, hey, we didn't expect this to happen. What do we do now? And it also speaks to the need to have a team of trusted advisors. Whether you're a solopreneur, small business person, entrepreneur, you really need to have people that you can collaborate with in a brain trust fashion, because some people will have already gone through this and they can sort of help you get through that hurdle.
That really is such an important point, is that collaboration with others who have been down this road, and they're willing to share their knowledge and struggles, and then that helps us so that maybe we can eliminate some of their struggles and get on the road to success a little faster. So that was a very good point that you made. Well, you've shared some of the facets of your life being in business, and along the way you maybe have had some failures, just like Edison did. And I would like to ask you to share one of those times when you just didn't get the results that you set out to achieve. So, would you tell us that story and, most importantly, the lessons that you learned?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. And many years ago, I had a business that I was running, and it had grown to a certain level. However, it had not attained the level of success that I had expected in that certain period of time, which basically meant I wasn't making the money I wanted, and I
Right.
didn't have the time freedom that I wanted. And I was able to sell the business, so that was a sort of success. However, it would have been easy for me to look at that as a failure, to say I've invested all this time and money and energy and it didn't work out the way I had planned. What I didn't know was what was on the other side of that journey. And what was on the other side was another business opportunity in a market that was really, really growing. And it turned out that that next business was exponentially more successful than the business I had just sold. So my lesson there is that quitting isn't always a bad thing. Because if it's your time to move on, then it's your time to move on. And we just don't know what's awaiting us on the other side.
Well, that's so true. And it is interesting. I've heard others say that when they sold their business, they had this kind of failure feeling. And it took them some time to get over that. And maybe it is the grieving time in a way. You just need to know that it wasn't a failure and and take some time to address that other things are there for you. And so I think that's really great that you realized that you did learn some lessons, and that helps you to move forward, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you said makes a lot of sense too. It's there's this grieving, and you sort of grieve the loss of a dream. But what you
Hmm.
have to realize is your dream is still your dream, and it shouldn't be tied to just your current position, your current business. It's a stepping stone to achieving that dream. Now, I've learned, I've grown immensely since then. This was, gosh, this was over 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So, I've grown to see how maybe in that instance I was too much of my identity and purpose was tied to that business and business ownership. And when that's the case, it's kind of like the athlete that stops playing their sport. Once they're done with their sport, they can feel like they're done with their life, but really that was just a stepping stone to their life.
Right. I think that's very profound that the way you put that. It is a stepping stone, and good for you for getting on with the next step, because that sometimes people get frightened and they don't take all of those steps. What I want to do now, Anthony, is go to the other end of the spectrum. So, would you tell us about a time in your journey when you had an aha moment, when you became aware of the new path that you wanted to travel, where you wanted to take those future steps? So, would you take a moment, tell us that story and the steps that you took to turn that idea into success?
Sure. So along my journey, I began to study personal development and success and things like that. And it was my aha moment was realizing how much more in control of my journey that I actually was. Before you realize that, you sort of think that life happens and circumstances happen and you just have to respond or react. But I really learned that we have a lot more control, that we're blessed. It's like this gift we've been given, the gift that says, you can actually, when I say be in control of your destiny, sometimes that scares people, right? But we really, for the most part, we can say, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to set out to do, and I can take the steps to move towards that goal. I can believe that the right situations and people are going to fall into place, and so much of it has to do with mindset.
Oh, yes. Our mindset, it is amazing how that can either move us forward or hold us back. So in
Absolutely.
that story, did you have information that you knew was important for you to change your mindset?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, there's a gentleman named Dr. Matt Menino, and that was a big changing point was when I went to one of his weekend events. uh, and it was called what was it called back then? It was called Beyond Wealth Weekend, and
Okay.
it really had a focus on financial breakthrough and financial success. But ultimately, it was about learning about your subconscious and how your subconscious really drives everything in life. And once you realize that, it just sets you on a whole different journey, if you will, because it allows you to have different conversations with yourself. You know, you can say, I have a choice here. I can make this choice to say this seemingly negative situation is going to, you know, totally derail my day, or I'm going to find the good in that. I'm going to find the positive in that, and take my day to the next level. And if you do that day after day, you just find that step closer to walking in purpose.
It really does. I just am amazed how we are learning what an impact our subconscious can have on us.
Absolutely.
Well, all of these real life experiences help us to take the lessons learned and apply them to other facets of our life and our business. And this is how we keep growing. So, Anthony, I'm going to ask you to bring us to the present time and to share your proudest entrepreneurial moment.
Sure. So, ironically, we're doing this interview. My proudest entrepreneurial moment takes me back to my first radio interview. And this
Ah,
was many, many years ago. And the reason it was such a proud moment was because at that point I felt like I had arrived. It was on morning drive business radio. And I also learned how these things happen. I happen to know somebody who knew somebody, and they said, "Hey, we can get you on the radio."
great.
But it was definitely a moment that I remember very well. And it's funny because I actually had a job at the time, but I still had my business. I was kind of building a business on the side, and so I think I kind of worked from home that day, so I'd be available to do the radio interview, and I still have it on cassette tape.
Oh,
That'll tell you
good.
how long ago it was. I'm not sure if I can play it today, but yeah. And I'd say another proud moment was obviously building a business that I could sell, and one that's still in business to this day, over 10 years after selling it.
I think that's really profound that you went back just now and it brought in focus that that is a proud moment, not a moment, but about a proud experience that you created that business and sold it. I'm excited for you that you think that's a great entrepreneurial moment because it is. So you're past the part of feeling bad about it. That just shows your growth. Good for you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and the folks that run it to this day are still very good friends of mine.
People really want to hear stories like yours. It might just click in somebody's mind of something that they realize that they can do to help their business to grow. So thank you for sharing those stories. And now, would you tell us one thing that is really exciting you in your business now?
Yes, and it's these opportunities. It's doing shows like this because seems to be my season for lots of media exposure.
Good.
And so I enjoy doing this, not just because I like hearing myself talk, but because I enjoy giving back. And it's through those hardships, through those lessons that I've learned. I always hope that I can, number one, impart some hope to people,
Right.
but number two, impart some I've been there, and I can help you not have to go down that dark road.
Yes, that really does give people hope when they hear your story and know that you've been there and you've traveled those roads and they think, well, if he can do it, maybe I can. And so it does give people hope. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings that we can do in this day and age when we have the opportunity to be on the radio or on video or on TV. Our experiences really can inspire other people. Because don't you think that's what, in some way or other, that's what got you inspired?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing your stories because people want to hear stories like yours. Like I said, it you just don't know who you are going to inspire. Let's hope that they'll get in touch with you and say, "Anthony, thank you for what you shared."
Well, that would be wonderful. In fact, um, I don't have it now, but I'm actually in the process of completing another book, and
Oh,
it's about that. It's about my life lessons learned in business, and my hope and prayer is that it will help people save literally time, money, heartache, who knows, relationships.
Good.
Being an entrepreneur is not easy on relationships. So
It isn't.
that's my hope for the.
Good. Well, I'd say that's very viable hope, and it will work out. Doing your radio interviews and going to business meetings like Alliances, those are really good places to stay out and be visible.
Absolutely.
Anthony, would you tell us one thing that is really exciting you in your business right now?
Next year we'll be doing a 10 city conference. It's something that really I'm doing along with several other people. It's called the Abounding Business Conference, and we've got lots of great energy around that. We just connected with the National Association for the Self-Employed. They've come on as a partner.
Wow.
For a 40,000 member organization, and so they'll be marketing along with us. So I'm really excited about that.
And do you know yet where it'll be held?
I do.
Maybe you can't
Let's
say yet.
see. Oh, no, I can. So people can go to aboundingbusiness.com, but we're actually going to start in Phoenix in January. There's 10 cities. We'll go to Miami and then DC, Las Vegas, Atlanta, San Diego, Denver, Seattle, Charlotte, and Dallas. So it's once a month next year from January to October.
Now that is an exciting plan. And would you tell me the name of it again? Abounding?
Sure. It's the Abounding Business
Huh.
Conference, and you can find that at aboundingbusiness.com. And just to bring life full circle, my good friend and mentor, Dr. Matt Menino, I'll have the privilege of sharing the stage with him as he is the closing keynote speaker for that event.
Oh, now that is exciting.
It really
Good for
is.
you. Wow.
Well, thank you.
What is the best business advice that you have ever received?
Surround yourself with good people and stay focused.
I think that sounds very, very powerful. I've heard focus described this way, that you follow one course until success.
I love that. I haven't heard that one.
Really is so important for us to do. I get so sidetracked. And do you? Does that happen to you?
Absolutely. People always want to share the next greatest
Right?
venture with us, and sometimes we have those moments of weakness, and we look to the left or to the right. But focus really. I've seen my biggest successes when I stay focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, so true. Good for you. And I'm working on that too, and I think it is just something we really do need to stay focused on.
Absolutely.
Can you share one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Yes, I would say actively practicing gratitude.
Oh,
One of the things I've learned is that we get more of what we focus on, and so when we focus on being grateful,
mm-hmm.
we end up having more things to be grateful for, and it's even finding the things to be grateful for in those dark moments.
Now that is so true. We forget to do that, and it's so important. So that's a very good reminder. Thank you for that. I'd like to ask you now, Anthony, what is the vision of the future of your business?
To continue growing our teams and really just connecting with more amazing clients. So we don't. I don't want this to sound wrong, but when we look at a client engagement, we don't just look at how can we help anybody and everybody. We really want to work with people that are in alignment with our core values and our beliefs, and people whose businesses we can really either already are passionate about or can be passionate about. So it's kind of selective, but we have found that there's just greater success there because you're starting on equal footing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're it just makes things go so much smoother. So in the same vein, as we bring on more team members, we want the same thing. We want them to be in alignment with our core values, our mission, our vision, and the types of clients that we serve.
That really does make sense. All right, Anthony, do you have an internet resource to share with our listeners which helps your efficiency, like Evernote or an app? And storytellers, you will find the links to these sites in the show notes of today's episode at bizstorieshared.com/Anthony Kirlew.
So it's interesting being a digital marketer. You would think that I would have something really great and high tech to share, but the most high tech thing that I use to be efficient is my calendar app because it syncs
Oh,
with my phone, my desktop or my laptop. So if I'm out at a networking event or wherever I am, I can put an appointment in there, and then when I come back to my laptop, it'll be synced in my calendar. And for me, that's really important. But as far as my to-do list, well, I would say this. I also use Google Apps, or rather Google Drive, and I like to keep my to-do list on Google Drive, and that way it's just there. I don't have to look for it. And then the things that I really, really are that I want to highlight to get done, I use old-fashioned whiteboards because I can sit at my desk and just look at it and say, okay, this needs to be done. This needs to be done.
Ah,
This needs to be done urgently. So that's it. It's the great thing about those things is calendar apps are free, and Google Drive is free.
right. I am just amazed at how much help it is when we can have our calendar synced to our phone and then our desktop, and you can always stay on top of things, which is a great help.
Absolutely.
Well, Anthony, would you describe for us who are perfect referrals for your business? These would be business associates or clients that the listeners know who would benefit from doing business with you.
Sure. So the perfect referral for me is a company that's been around for a while. They usually have some employees are usually doing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5 million or more in revenue. And it's somebody that wants to have a trusted resource to handle all the phases of their online marketing and social media engagement. And we do have resources to help solopreneurs, and people that are startups, but that's just not our ideal client because um, you know money and resources are typically pretty tight, and
Mm-hmm.
our teams are veteran teams that are all U.S. based. We don't outsource anything, so unfortunately our labor costs are not the lowest. And I don't say that to
Right.
say that we're expensive, but I just say that the best companies that we've had success with are those that have been around for a while and understand the value of having a team like ours handle their digital marketing. For example, they could hire one person and pay them maybe 80 or 90,000, or they could pay less than that and get a whole team of people.
Well, I think that really sounds like you've given that some very serious thought and you've got a good plan in place. Good for
Well,
you.
thank you. It's taken some time to get there.
Sure, it does. Yeah, it always does. But it's that perseverance. Back to that inventor.
Absolutely.
You just have to keep trying. If you could recommend just one book to our listeners, what would it be?
I would recommend Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Mm,
It's a
mm-hmm.
classic when it comes to mindset, and I believe it's one of the must reads for any entrepreneur or any business owner.
Yes, it really is a very good book. To think that it is still pertinent in this day and age just shows that it's has such valid ideas in there for us. Anthony, I've truly enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories that you shared. So, would you please share one more time how we can get in touch with you and any other resources that you want us to have? And then we'll say goodbye.
Sure. Well, you can find me at Anthony Kirlew. That's KIRLEW.com. You can also check out the conference information at aboundingbusiness.com, and
Good.
people can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter as well.
And what is your LinkedIn?
So for LinkedIn, if you search by my name, that's probably the easiest way to
Okay.
find it. And then my Twitter handle is just my name, at Anthony Curlew.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being so generous with your time and your expertise in sharing your experiences.
Oh, well, Charlotte, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a
You're
pleasure.
very welcome. Listeners, you can find links to this resource and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to bizstoryshare.com. Anthony Curlew. Thank you again, Anthony, and goodbye.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Give the storyteller some love. Go to bizstoryshare.com, click on the iTunes button, and give a 5-star review. Thanks.